All right. This is Mike Vermillion here with Motorcycle Rider Education, and sitting next to me I have Mike Wharton Sr., not to be confused with Mike Wharton Jr., whole different guy. Mike has been a rider coach with us for
over 12 years.
About 12 years. This is our 15-year anniversary for those that don't know that we have been in business. So we thought it would be a cool thing to interview the coaches, talk to them a little bit, let you guys get to know them before you come to class. So, Mike, how long have you been riding?
I've been riding, I was first licensed in 1962.
Okay. I was born in 1964. I've been licensed longer than I've been alive. All right. How many different types of motorcycles have you had? I mean, did you start with the scooter? I know one of our coaches started with the scooter.
I started with the Cushman.
Okay.
The old 1948 Cushman. Then I went up to the 1957 Cushman, which was a lot sleeker and more stylish, but traded that off for a Honda motorcycle in the early 60s when they first hit the United States, back in, it was early 60s. Of course, riding the scooters license wasn't required at that time. So I've been riding longer, but I got licensed in 62.
You got licensed in 62. Okay, all right. Well, that makes sense. So not a Harley guy? You were a Harley guy for a little bit.
Yeah, I have, okay. I wore out 2 brand new Harleys, put enough miles on them to where they were time to work on them or trade them off, so I traded them off.
Okay, all right.
And I started out with a Honda, and I'm still driving a Honda.
Still driving a Honda. So what do you ride today?
Today, I have a 1995 Honda Trike.
Okay, and it's white.
White.
And you've made a trailer.
Yeah, made a trailer, pull behind it. The wife and I go on trips. Our last trip was 2 years ago. After the COVID scare, we went on about a month-long vacation, put about 6,000 miles on the bike up and down the East Coast, ended up in Florida and came back here.
All right, that was a long trip. That's good. I'm glad you guys still get out and ride and enjoy the trike.
Sure.
Now, we've already said you've been a rider coach for about 12 years.
Mm-hmm. This will be my 13th year.
13th year.
This season, yeah.
Okay, all right. What made you initially want to be a rider coach?
Well, that's kind of a comical story. Early 2000s, I was on base, and they said if you want to ride your motorcycle on base, you had to take the MSF course. Of course, I've been riding for 40 years, so I already knew everything.
Of course.
Or so I thought. But I took the course with an open mind, and I realized, oh, that's why that happened back when. And so I learned something. And so I went back and presented my card to the safety officer at McConnell. And then about a year later, the chief of safety comes in and sits down. We're friends. And he sits down and he says, by the way, he says, I want you to teach motorcycle safety on base. And I said, well, I've already got a full-time job. And he said, that's okay. Your commander said it was all right. So I was voluntold that you're going to be a rider coach. And I took the class, the rider coach class, through MS or through the MRE school. They hosted it, and just started hanging around with the guys. I didn't coach with motorcycle rider education at first. I did coach on base for a year, teaching probably at least once a month, teaching a class there just to military personnel. Received no extra pay for it. And then nice. I was, the next year, through the wisdom of the government, they went with our competitor, and he was teaching on base, so I didn't have to teach on base, but I still kind of missed it. So in order to maintain my certification, I just started hanging around with Joe and some of the other rider coaches, and was able to kind of pick up a job here and there, fill in, and I've been doing it ever since.
And now he's more or less full-time.
Full-time.
Full-time. He teaches several times a month. Also, several years ago, through MRE, Mike was able to get his rider coach certification for trike class. So he does quite a bit of our trike classes for us. He's our resident traditional trike expert because that's what he rides. We mostly teach on the Can-Ams. It's a little bit different setup. If you guys don't know, we'll introduce those later. So it's nice to have Mike here for that because he does have the experience with that and has been very helpful in that realm when we have something brand new and they have a traditional trike.
Right.
They don't operate quite the same as the Can-Ams do, so it's really nice to have that expertise with us. What's the best thing about being a rider coach?
Oh, meeting with people.
Meeting people?
Yeah. You get to share experiences. I don't like to call them, horror stories, but there's some positive experiences that we've had on both sides of the table. I've learned a lot from the students, specifically with bicycle riders. This is your rear brake. On a motorcycle, this is your front brake. There's a big difference.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, when
So
you gotta use that. Yeah.
So that's just one thing, and I'd be safe to say that every month I learn something a little bit different from the students that I can apply to make the learning experience for new riders a more pleasant one.
Right, and a lot of times, as students come on board, one of the things that as rider coaches have been doing it a long time, we're able to pick up on, this student learns a little bit differently than that student. So you can kind of tweak what you're saying a little bit. And, and you pick that up instinctively anymore.
Right.
Say, okay, I need to change this way. I need to approach it this way because they're going to learn better if I turn the sentence around a little bit.
Right.
Not necessarily the demonstration on what they're doing mechanically, but if we can explain to them just a little bit differently, then, the light comes on. I get it now.
Right.
And that comes with experience. I know for myself, it took me a good 3, 4, 5 years, and I'm with Mike, I'm still picking up things as I go along to understand, I can do this a little bit differently and get to that student a little bit better.
Right.
So, great. And it's always fun. It usually happens on Sunday, day 2 of the riding, that you'll see the light come on the student. I get this now.
Yeah.
And then they just do everything flawlessly after that.
Right.
Though they struggled all day the day before. So.
Right.
Would you recommend being a rider coach to other people?
Probably. I would, if you like people and if you like being a motorcyclist, I'd recommend it. Highly recommend it because it's a great way to stay sharp. As we get older, we need to practice more. Well, this is a great way for me to practice.
Yeah. When we're out there, it's a great way to practice. And it's also, like I said, it's rewarding to take what we have learned through the years, not only through MSF, but with personal experiences, and relay that to people, because our main goal here is to keep people safe on the street. We don't want people to have accidents. We want people to be safe. We want them to be aware of what's around them and give them that tool to use. And so, that's how I got started, to say, I can help some people.
Right.
And it's probably along the lines of you, we can help some people as well.
Right.
Even though you were voluntold to start with, right?
Yeah.
And I think it melds to that because I've seen Mike coach, and Mike cares. I'll brag on him a little bit. He cares so much about his students. He wants his students to do well. He wants his students to have a good time while they're here. We try to liven it up a little bit, not make it so dry, it's so boring. But he does care about his students, and he has been known to spend extra time, we call it remedial training, with a student out on the range so that they can understand what they did. And I've always appreciated you for the last 12, going on 13 years, being a part of motorcycle rider education, because you are what makes up motorcycle rider education. It's a great service that you provide to the motorcycling community and to that brand new person, I want to ride, or the person been riding a long time.
Right.
Here's how you can sharpen those skills. Here's how we can get better.
Or correct some bad habits. I had bad habits. I didn't know it. And like I said, I'd ridden for 40 years. I had survived riding. I wasn't necessarily a good rider. And so that was one thing that really impressed me when I took the class. And, motorcycle rider education teaches you the safe, proper way to ride a motorcycle. We don't do wheelies, we don't do stoppies, any of that stuff. That's the advanced class. No, just kidding. But and we use some of our experience or some of the experience that we picked up from other rider coaches to convey this is what we need to do and why we need to do it. And really, once in a while, it's really heartwarming to see the aha moment happen when a person just, oh, what you're telling me is true. It works.
Right.
Like turn your head or look this way, or turn your handlebars, turn your head. Whatever the situation is, once they realize it, then it's like, well, I can do this.
Right.
And we don't expect you to be a perfect rider after 2 days of class or 20 hours. We give you a toolbox full of things to practice on it. And I encourage you to practice everything. And when you're done practicing, practice more.
Exactly.
Keep practicing.
Exactly. And I can't tell you the number of times, and I try to relay it back to the individual coaches, we'll get phone calls, hey, I was out and this happened on the street. I remember what you told me to do. And it's like Mike's voice was in my head, do this, and I did it, and I'm here today.
Yeah.
So again, I appreciate you. Thank you for all the years of service, and I get you for 8 more years? 7? 5? Okay, 5 more years. All right, check us out, Motorcycle Rider Education, motorcyclelessonswichita.com. Thank you very much.